Good morning. This is your Executive Intelligence Briefing for February 7th, 2026. Let's get straight to the numbers that matter. Our lead story today is this number right here. The RBI's Monetary Policy Committee has decided to hold the policy repo rate unchanged at 5.25%. Okay, let's unpack this. As you can see, the repo rate and the policy stance are both holding steady. No surprises there. But here's what's really important for you to see. The FY26 growth projection has been revised upwards to 7.4%. That's a bump of 10 basis points. Also note the upward revision for inflation in Q1 of fiscal 27. And crucially, they're holding off on full-year projections. Why? Because they're waiting for the new rebased GDP series in April. That new data is expected to change the entire picture, so any long-term forecast right now would just be premature. And here's the official word from Governor Sanjay Malhotra to back that up. His message is pretty clear. Despite what's happening globally, the view on the domestic economy's immediate future is confident.
So what's the bottom line here? The RBI is projecting confidence, but they're also keeping their powder dry. By holding the rate and delaying those big projections, they're giving themselves room to move, to react to any external shocks, and of course, that major GDP data revision. You could call it a pause with optionality strategy. Now, speaking of those external shocks, let's pivot to our first deep dive. We're seeing a really significant reshuffle in India's energy sourcing, and this is something that needs to be on your strategic radar. The numbers here are stark. Take a look. In December 2025, crude imports from Russia dropped to a 38-month low. We're talking $2.7 billion. That's a 15% fall year over year. Now look at the other side of the coin. Imports from the United States, they surged by 31% to over 569 million. This isn't just a small adjustment, it's a real, tangible shift. For the first time in 3 years, Russia's share of our oil imports has actually dropped below 25%. And this is all happening against a backdrop of geopolitical uncertainty. Now, Governor Malhotra was talking about broader trade deals here, but his comment really captures the official mood of caution. That same sentiment, well, it absolutely extends to the energy sector. So this strategic implication is this. A pivot in where we get our energy is no longer just a theory. You can see it right there in the data. And while this move does diversify our supply, it also means we're much more exposed to U.S. trade dynamics. This demands an immediate review of your supply chain resilience and your risk management. All right, let's shift gears, removing from the physical world of supply chains to the digital one. Our second deep dive looks at the race to build out digital infrastructure, specifically focusing on the data center space. The ambition here is just massive. Bharti Airtel's Nextra is planning a nearly 10-fold increase in its data center capacity. They're going from around 120 megawatts today to a full gigawatt in just 3 to 4 years. And their strategic goal is just as aggressive. They want to more than double their market share from 12% up to 25%. And an ambition like that, well, it needs serious capital behind it. This number, 42,290 crore rupees, is Bharti Airtel's total capital expenditure for fiscal year 25. It just underscores the incredible level of investment it takes to compete at this scale. And this isn't just a one-time thing. CEO Gopal Vittal's statement confirms it. He's signaling a sustained strategic commitment to pour more and more capital into the data center business. He sees it as a primary engine for their future growth. The bottom line is pretty straightforward. The competition to build out our national digital backbone is heating up fast. It demands huge amounts of capital, and it's creating a very high-value market for sovereign cloud services. We're talking services aimed specifically at the security-conscious, data-sensitive needs of sectors like banking, finance, and manufacturing. So we've looked at energy and we've looked at digital infrastructure, but these aren't isolated trends. Let's pull the lens back for a moment and look at the bigger, systemic undercurrents that these stories represent. Connecting these dots is really the key here. First, that central bank strategy of pause with optionality. The RBI's decision to hold rates isn't just a local story. It's part of a global trend. All over the world, monetary authorities are choosing to wait for clearer economic signals before they commit to a policy direction. They're navigating a very uncertain landscape. Second is the absolute necessity of scaling up our own digital infrastructure. Airtel's move? That's just one signal of a much, much larger investment cycle. For a nation to stay competitive today, building out domestic data capacity and sovereign cloud isn't just an option, it's fundamental to economic security.
And the third undercurrent is how geopolitics is redrawing the map of trade. That dramatic shift in India's oil imports, it's really a small snapshot of a global recalibration. Strategic de-risking and new alliances are forcing everyone to redraw their energy maps, and that has huge implications for supply chain stability and costs down the road. So let's bring it all together. What is the executive bottom line? What are the absolute must-know takeaways from this briefing? There are 3 things you need to walk away with. First, domestic policy looks stable on the surface, but it's really just waiting for that new GDP data. Agility is going to be absolutely critical. Second, the energy supply chain pivot isn't a forecast anymore, it's a reality. The move away from Russia is a deliberate de-risking strategy, and it's creating a whole new set of dependencies and opportunities. And third, the digital arms race is all about infrastructure. The kind of transformation we're talking about requires a level of capital investment in core assets, like data centers and sovereign cloud, that is completely unprecedented. And this brings us to our final strategic question for you. With the domestic front looking relatively calm, the real focus has to be external. So, which of these 2 massive headwinds, the geopolitical reshuffling of trade or the fierce global race in data infrastructure, poses the most immediate threat, and which one demands the most urgent strategic review from your leadership team? That concludes this briefing.